Hello everyone and welcome back to Ace Book Talk. Today, we are diving into a powerful essay that has inspired activists and thinkers for generations, Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau was more than just a writer. He was a philosopher, a poet, a naturalist, and a staunch advocate for individual liberty. Born in Concord, Massachusetts in 1817. He lived a life deliberately focused on simplicity and self-sufficiency. He famously spent 2 years living in a small cabin he built himself at Walden Pond, an experience which he documented in his renowned book, Walden. Thoreau's writings are deeply rooted in his observations of nature and his reflections on the human condition, but they are also infused with a profound sense of moral responsibility. He was deeply troubled by the social injustices he witnessed, particularly slavery and the Mexican-American War. These concerns directly fueled his essay Civil Disobedience, originally titled Resistance to Civil Government, which emerged from a lecture he delivered in 1848. His ideas were radical for his time, challenging the authority of the state and championing the right of the individual to conscience-driven action. Civil disobedience is essentially Thoreau's argument for the moral imperative to resist unjust laws. The essay opens with a powerful declaration that government is best which governs least. He quickly clarifies that he wishes for something even bolder, that government is best which governs not at all. This isn't a call for anarchy, but rather a critic of the ways in which government often hinders individual freedom and morality. Thoreau believed that individuals should prioritize their conscience over the dictates of the law, especially when those laws perpetuate injustice. He argues that citizens have a responsibility to refuse to cooperate with a government that acts immorally. Thoreau's primary grievance at the time was the United States government's involvement in the Mexican-American War, which he saw as an unjust war of expansion fueled by the desire to extend slavery. He also condemns slavery itself as a profound moral wrong. He criticizes those who passively support the government through their taxes and obedience, arguing that they are complicit in its injustices. He believed that simply voting against injustice wasn't enough. True resistance required active non-cooperation. He famously put his principles into practice by refusing to pay his poll tax, which he saw as supporting the war. This act of defiance led to his brief imprisonment, an experience he recounts in the essay. Thoreau reflects on his time in jail, noting that while his body was confined, his mind and spirit remained free. He describes feeling a sense of liberation, knowing that he was standing up for his beliefs, even in a small way. He contrasts the perceived power of the state with the true power of individual conscience, suggesting that the state can only exert its influence through the consent and cooperation of its citizens. He contends that individuals should not blindly obey laws simply because they are laws. He believes that we must critically examine the laws and determine whether they align with our moral principles. If a law is unjust, Thoreau argues, we have a right, and indeed a duty, to disobey it. He does advocate for reckless lawbreaking, rather for thought-principled resistance. He emphasizes the importance of nonviolent resistance, believing that violence only perpetuates the cycle of injustice. The essay delves into the nature of government and its relationship to the individual. Thoreau suggests that the state is often more of an impediment than a help to progress and individual flourishing. He contrasts the power of the individual conscience with the often corrupting influence of political institutions. He argues that true progress comes not from government action, but from the moral integrity and independent action of individuals. From the governor to be Civil disobedience concludes with a call to action, urging readers to resist unjust laws and to live according to their conscience. Thoreau believes that even a small act of resistance can have a significant impact, and that collective non-cooperation can ultimately force the government to change its policies. He envisions a future where individuals are free to pursue their own moral compass, unburdened by the constraints of an unjust state. So, what can we take away from civil disobedience today? First, it challenges us to think critically about the laws we obey and to consider whether they align with our values. It prompts us to ask ourselves whether we are complicit in injustice simply by going along with the status quo. Second, it underscores the importance of individual conscience. Thoreau reminds us that we have a moral obligation to stand up for what we believe is right, even if it means challenging authority. Third, it highlights the power of nonviolent resistance. Thoreau's essay has inspired countless activists and movements throughout history, demonstrating that even small acts of defiance can bring about significant change. Civil disobedience isn't just a historical document, it's a timeless call for individual responsibility and social justice. It challenges us to be active citizens, to question authority, and to live according to our conscience. It encourages us to create a better world, one act of principled resistance at a time. Thank you for joining me on Ace Book Talk. I hope this discussion has inspired you to explore civil disobedience further and to reflect on its relevance to our own lives. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more book recommendations.